Folks, we want to thank you for hanging out with us right here in front of the stage. Krece, you know better than that. We are streaming live right here at nrsworld.com. We do this every morning. We've got a few folks up here that we want to visit with. First of all, Krece Harris is with the NRS Training Center there in Decatur, Texas. We want to talk about that a second. Krece, we've talked about it's the Taj Mahal as far as learning how to team rope, the facility, the bunkhouses. Talk about what's going on there in Decatur.
Same deal, different day there.
Yeah.
We cater to the educational side of team roping.
Sure.
So if anybody's interested in learning to rope or improve their roping, we've got every amenity that you can want right there to be able to come in and do that.
Yeah, sure. And that goes from, I mean, there's a saddle shop, there's of course the arena, but RV hookups, bunkhouses that are like a Marriott, a cookhouse that's like Wolfgang Puck's, probably better than that. But talk about those amenities real quick for us.
Again, whenever David Ashton built that facility, he was trying to set it up to where you can come in and feel comfortable about your stay, and that is the bunkhouses, which are motel rooms, and they're all Western decor. You're 30 yards from your stalls,
right? Sure.
Or 30 yards from the arena.
Yeah.
Then 2 years ago, we go in and we build resort-style cabins, more for a family group, but we have a lot of individuals come through there and stay in the cabins. So the trailer hookups, we have, 65 trailer hookups and 120 stalls. So for somebody to come in and just relax and get set up, you're covered. The food, the Billy and Lou and the saddle shops underneath the arena, so saddle fitting your horse, saddle fitting yourself.
Right, sure.
It's all right there in one location, but that's what we do day in and day out is focus on the educational side of team roping and horsemanship. So when people come in, it is a step-by-step process that we go through to help them get educated on what we need to work on.
Sure, and if somebody wants to go to a roping school or has questions while they're here or calling in, introduce Shay to us here real quick and how they can get some info. Shay, come on out here.
For all of you sitting here and those that you can see, this is Shayna Branson, and she handles all of the booking. So if you do call in to NRS, you will end up speaking to her, and she will handle the private lesson bookings, she'll handle the clinic bookings.
Yeah.
So key person. It doesn't. My deal doesn't exist without her. So.
Right, exactly. And Shay is located over towards the hat arena right here.
Yeah, she's gonna be around the hat area. I think we ought to give her a mic and let her talk about it.
Well, she was asking if she could say a few words, but I told her we didn't have enough.
I thought she was going to sing a song for us.
Yeah, she don't want to talk.
You want to sing this morning?
Yeah, but Shay is over in this area as well. Shay, thank you very much. She can fix you up with any questions you have. If you want to go ahead, and she's already booked some schools since we've been out here, and she can handle that for you at any time, or you can call in, and talk with Shay as well. While we're on it as well, I want to talk about this rope and sled out here, the Rope Rite, and this is Mr. Steve Neeley right here. He designed this. Mic on there, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Krece and Steve, talk a little bit. We use this rope sled here at the NRS facility there, as far as the schools go. But give us some of the features, advantages, and benefits, of the Rope Rite here real quick.
I'm going to let Steve talk to you about it because you get me started on it.
Oh, I know. And Krece will be, he'll be talking about it as well, as he gets going here. But Steve Neeley, what do you got here? Talk about your design.
It's just, it's simple. It's simple, John. When we designed and invented the Rope Rite sled, we just made it so it's affordable and effective.
Right, sure.
People say, well, what kind of tubing it's made out of? Yeah, it's Schedule 40 pipe, so it's heavy.
Right.
It's not going to wear out. It's light enough to pull with the horse.
Sure.
It's just, and it's compatible with any head and dummy you can think of. It's also, you can put a head and dummy on there.
Yeah.
Put a bale of hay on
right,
there,
sure.
calf sled or something. Or the next calf when they take the back leg section off, or a breakaway sled.
So you're telling me, like, I don't have a Bones, but I have a Jake steer.
Yep.
It'll fit on there.
Yes, sir.
I'll be darned. So it's interchangeable, you know, and so if you already have a roping dummy, it'll fit on this one right here. Or if you own a bale of hay, it'll fit on this right
Yes,
here.
sir.
Perfect.
Perfect. Like the new Rope Smart,
Right.
it fits on there. Everything can fit on there.
I think something different, you know, that is kind of unique as far as the front, you know, when the header ropes the sled here and dallies off, it detaches from the rope or whatever you're pulling with, right? So the header's physically pulling the sled across the arena. That's unique.
That'd be that model there with the wheels on it.
Right, here we go.
Krece and I have worked on it a little bit, and we got it, so it works pretty good. There's a video that y'all play, and it shows it pretty good on stuff, and it'll get a head horse to face it.
Right, sure.
Definitely good one to face it.
It's the one that pulls, you know, that comes loose like that with the wheels. I'm telling you, you'll see how much control you have over the head horses whenever it comes off.
Yeah.
If you don't continue to ride your horse after you catch it and to try to soften that horse up through the corner, it'll move out and move back in. But when you do it right, it just comes off there smooth as glass.
Absolutely.
So it's a neat deal, and like you said, when it's behind those head horses, you want to sharpen the horse up on the face.
That's the way to do it.
It's coming to them.
What we may can do, just kind of while Krece and Drew are talking here, Steve's got a new video out, you know, as far as the Rope Rite goes. Maybe we can get it playing up here a little bit, and yeah, we'll pull the volume down on it where they can keep talking. But if they have questions about it, they can talk to Krece. Is that right throughout the day? Is that kind of the plan?
And talk to Krece, yes sir, he'll be around here. And
It's kind of around the hat booth, kind of where Shay is, you know, so if you have questions on the Rope Rite, be sure and check that out.
And I'll be back by the saddles.
Yep, he's back by the saddles as well. Steve is here, and we appreciate Steve, you letting us do this with your sled up here.
Thanks, John. I appreciate Krece and you.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
And Drew.
And Drew.
Drew too.
We're going to bring in Drew Horner now here real quick. He's going to talk with Krece here. We talked about the roping facility. They're going to show you kind of what goes on at the roping facility as far as team roping goes. But Drew Horner, first time NFR qualifier. Drew, talk about your week so far, buddy. Oh yeah.
It's been pretty good. It's been outstanding. I've loved it. It's been more than what I thought it would be. We won a little bit of money already. We won the third round. We actually split it twice, which was a dream come true for me because I've always wanted an NFR buckle. And to get here and to finally kind of get that monkey off my back to win a check and to get that dream kind of fulfilled has been huge. And it's been outstanding. It's such a blessing to be out here and to be able to ride these horses and rope against the best guys in the world. It's what I've always dreamed of, and it's what I want to do and support team roping. So it's been huge. Been having fun out here with Krece.
Yeah. Hey, did I hear that, are you going to get the round buckle now? Did I hear that you are?
I'm not going to say anything. I hope so. I thought there was only one buckle. We had 3 teams that split it. Me, Brandon Beers, and Riley Miner were the 3 headers that split the third round. And Riley had already had a buckle, so he wasn't worried about it. But Brandon Beers and I had to rock, paper, scissors for it.
You had to play rock, paper, scissors for a round buckle. I thought that was great.
Yeah, well, I ended up losing that.
Yeah, you lost. First time.
Yeah, sucks. But
Yeah. But we'll check in on that, man.
Yeah,
let us know, man. That's something I'm pushing for. I want to
I am too.
I'm sure you are. I don't want to take no more time. I'm going to let Drew Horner and Krece Harris talk about this. Is a relaxed, laid-back deal. If you have questions, raise your hand, shout it out. And guys, we appreciate y'all being here. Y'all give a hand. Krece Harris and Drew Horner.
Thank you, John. Everybody doing good today? Appreciate you stopping in. 9:30, we get to kick the show off for today. But what I want to go through today is kind of keep it the same that we've been doing. If you've been here in days past, I like to stay with the fundamentals and simplify things in our minds. And so that's what we're going to work on. Drew's been kind enough to come by and sit in on the seminars and help out with them. So it worked out great for me to where he can handle the head side of it for sure. But what I want to do today is make sure that we cover those fundamentals. Again, I talked about it yesterday, and it's hard for us to go get better with what we're doing if we don't have our fundamentals in place. And I see so many ropers go to the practice pen when they rope, they're not out there focusing on one part of their game. They're just out there roping. I credit a lot of it, since we don't have dirt and steers and horses in here, I credit a lot of it to our groundwork, whether or not we're practicing proper groundwork versus improper groundwork. We talked about a little bit about the Rope Rite sled when we started this morning. You know, for what I do and all the clinics that I teach there at NRS, this sled works outstanding for me, and it's kind of like Steve said, it's more of a price point sled. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg, but at the same time, you've got a 3-in-1. Well, I'm able to take those dummies off of the sled, put them on the ground, so I've got my hidden dummies, I've got a healing dummy, and then I'm able to put them back together, and then we've got sleds for the clinic. So what I'm going to do as I go through this is I'm going to talk to you and kind of relate what our groundwork is going to be like in comparison to our horsemanship, because we know that 80% of our game is horsemanship. And basically what I'm going to cover in this seminar is what we go through at the training center. I'm not trying to sell a gimmick, folks. It's pretty easy to get caught up in, you need to do it this way, you need to do it this way, and it's more of just basic logic, okay? Basic logic. We know that roping is hard enough as it is, and the reason it is your right-handed ropers get caught up with their left hand and their left foot, okay? So I'm going to start out, and I'm going to let Drew head. The key that I want everybody to focus on when you're doing your groundwork when you're heading is you need to stay in your lane. If I don't get anything else taught to anybody, it is safety first. Okay, you've got to stay in your lane, but this also helps you slow down to be fast. Whenever Drew's out there in his lane and the steer's in the middle lane, then when he catches, all he's got to do is continue to ride his horse by slowing down or side passing out, and the steer's going to shake and come to him. If he gets trapped behind the steer, then he's got to ride away from that. So it's what I say, you're adding seconds to the clock and you're taking seconds off the clock. I see a lot of ropers catch steers to be 6, but they turn them to be 9. And it doesn't mean that they're not roping sharp, they're just not riding sharp. And half of it starts when you leave the corner of the box. That's the first half of the run. So what we do on our groundwork is we try to stay balanced and square to our target. And that's key. So whenever Drew's roping the dummy, he's in position, he's got his left foot forward. I'm a proponent of teaching left foot forward for this simple reason. It makes it real easy to square your shoulders to your target as a header. How many of you in here have roped calves? And when you rope calves, where's your target? It's out in front. So everything gets locked off right here, okay? And then I have a lot of calf ropers come in and then they go to head. Guess what ends up happening? Their muscle memory is stuck right here, so we're splitting the horns. We're speeding that delivery up. Anytime your breakover's late, and Drew, I'm going to let you hit on this just a little bit, but when he starts his swing and he gets everything in motion here, he's got to have that breakover before it gets to the right horn. Or he's got to be able to rotate those shoulders and come back around, okay? So that's where you see a lot of people, they'll go to pushing and accelerating that tip, and that's when we start bypassing that right horn, when we split the horns, okay? So, go ahead.
I'd say to touch more on the balance and the breakover point of my tip. I mean, you can swing over here, like Krece was just saying. You can swing over here, but as long as you deliver outside the right horn, it's good. That's really, really hard to do. That's why we don't teach that, and it's not very consistent because you have to come out of it and react. What Krece is talking about doing is putting, like I like to put my tip, break it over outside the right horn, but not like way over there, just enough outside the right horn to get it covered. And if you break it over just outside the right horn, when I say break it over, that means essentially where your hand's going to turn over, where your loop's going to turn over. And then all you got to do is go from just outside the right horn and come across the horns, like I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard, come across the horns. And all you're doing is going from 6 inches to the right to 6 inches to the left, rather than 3 feet to the right and 2 feet to the left. It's just a simple, just outside the right horn and just outside the left horn. Keep it as small motion as possible. Break it over outside, come across. It just keeps it simple.
I'm going to go back. Okay, he's talking about the swing and he's talking about his delivery. I'm going to go back and go through this process. Where I see most students make their mistakes on the ground is when they rope, they bow out. Okay. Go ahead.
Jump the gun.
No, you're good, you're good. They start to bow out on their delivery. And what I mean by that is you go to rope, and when you rope the dummy, you come off of that foot, and then you get hung right there. Okay? Does it mean that you can't catch the dummy? Absolutely not. And we build up that confidence in our mind that that's working. The problem is when you get on that horse, that muscle memory comes right back into play, and then you get bowed out over the front of your horse. And again, we catch a steer. If you catch a steer, your horse keeps going down the arena, your horse doesn't collect because your muscle memory is over the horse's shoulder. It's not back in the saddle. So what we're trying to focus here is use our core balance on our groundwork. So I'm real big on teaching guided on. I didn't say you won't lean. I never said that. You'll lean forward to finish your delivery or go to the bottom of your delivery. Your toes will roll down right there. But as soon as you pull your slack, you need to get back in your saddle, and that's horsemanship 101. How do we teach our horses to stop? Sit down, quit riding. Or sit down, right? How many, pardon me? If we're over their shoulders, the heaviest part of your body, and his question was, that's what makes them stop on their front end. The heaviest part of your body is from your waist up. The heaviest part of the horse's body is from the heart girth or withers forward. So if I'm throwing my weight over that horse's shoulders, I'm making him lumber now. He's pulling like a plow horse instead of using his rear end like an athlete. So I'm trying to keep my core balance over the middle of his back. And so if I do go into my delivery, I'll start my delivery, and then that's when I'll finish and lean forward a little bit to finish right there. But as soon as I rip my slack, I've got to get back in my saddle to help my horse rate, to get balance, to stay square to my target. And that's where those horses stay on their rear ends and they stay strong. Remember this, wherever your shoulders are going to be, that's where those horses are going to be. We've seen a lot of those horses get hung right there, especially in these lower numbered ropings, to where somebody will rope, and when they get caught right there, they'll go to the saddle horn, and when they do, their shoulders rotate back to that saddle horn like this. Well, if my body is framed up like this in the saddle, guess what my horse is framed up like? The exact same way. They're framed up the exact same way. My shoulders are pointing that way, the horse's shoulders are going to point that way. He's going to move that shoulder, but his hip is still to the steer. I've got to keep the hip underneath them so they stay strong and collected. Okay? So a lot of that will come from your groundwork. I've noticed students over the years that do bow out on their delivery and they stay forward right there and that foot stays off the ground. And again, this muscle right here is training the rest of your muscles what to do. It's mental discipline. It's mental discipline. We went through it yesterday. And one simple little deal, when we did the slack drill yesterday, when somebody's left hand is moving, it doesn't do you any good to walk up there and take your rope off. So go ahead and rope it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. Everybody watch his left hand right here. He pulls his slack with his left hand. How many of you realize that we do this? He pulled as much slack with his left hand right there as he did his right hand. And just because his left hand moves right there, his horse is out of balance, out of position now. And it's going to make the dally hard. So, if your left hand moves right there, go ahead and do it again. Instead of walking up there and taking it off, he needs to put his left hand back in place and pull his slack 4 or 5 times, because now he's actually training his left hand to go back to where it's supposed to be. That's the mental discipline on the groundwork. That's the mental discipline on the groundwork. Same prime example. How many of you see healers do this on the ground? When they get up there and they rope, they lift. They'll stand there and rope those sleds, or they'll rope those dummies, and every time they deliver a rope, especially on those little cowboy tours, I think it's great, because especially those kids, they're always swinging a rope, and that's what makes them better. But you'll see this all the time. And I have stood there at the arena, and I have watched guys rope the dummy 20 times doing that exact deal right there. And as soon as they get on their horse and go rope a steer, guess what they're doing? They're pulling slack before they ever catch. And so they'll come back to the ground, and they'll stand there and they'll do the exact same thing over and over, try to get their mind right again that they can catch. But all the while they're recreating a bad habit of lifting slack before they catch. Because once they get on that horse, their balance isn't the same. Their balance isn't the same.
I think everything resorts or falls back to balance. I mean, if you don't have balance, you can't really accomplish what your goal is in an opening. You have to use balance to ride your horse, and then you have to use balance also to make it easier to control your rope. I mean, you can be falling off your horse and still catch the dummy or catch the steer, but that takes a lot of rope coordination. And so the easiest way to be successful in team roping and be consistent in catching, heading, or even staying balanced with your horse. And I work on that all the time. When I got home after the summer, I worked on it huge. I mean, I was trying to sit down, I was trying to sit upright a little bit more and more in my swells, and then rope. And then when I got on the horn, I was wanting to sit down and ride my horse a little better. And I mean, it was incredible, the little small thing that I changed that made my roping run from, you know, like a 4.8 to a 4.6. Like, and that matters to us. I mean, the snap and the finish, every aspect of the run and team roping comes from balance. And consistency is huge. And balance is huge for consistency.
80% of the game is going to be horsemanship. You don't have to have a perfect swing to catch. And the reason I know that is because we still load up and go to those ropings, and there's so many of those guys like Walter Arnold or somebody that their shoulders and their elbows don't work like they used to. So they kind of got that swing off over here, but they run up there to the same spot, they wait on their tip, they guide it on, and they go to the pay window at just about every roping. So they understand where their tip and their swing and their delivery is. Okay? It's a matter of where they're at on that horse to be able to go accomplish that. And I see so many people, because I'm guilty of it myself, that we get out there and we work day in and day out trying to get good with this. And what I try to tell my students is, don't base your success on the catch. Base your success on how you executed the catch. Okay? If you go work on those steps, you got to work on step A. As a header, step A is what? You got to score. And I'm not necessarily just talking about score your horse. You got to learn to score yourself.
Do you want to show them how we're talking about right now, the dummy?
Yeah.
I got to rope and stuff. Right. Just show them. Well, when you're roping the dummy, when you're practicing, we was talking about left foot forward earlier. Kind of back to, I kind of messed up the drill earlier. So it's left foot forward in your lane right here. It's kind of similar to what we've been explaining. When you rope the dummy, though, be standing upright. I don't want you bowed out. If you do lean on your horse, it's okay. Just break over at the hips. Don't weaken your back or anything. That's why this dummy drill right here, if you rope it correctly, you're going to build these basic core fundamentals for balance on your horsemanship. So if you're sitting up right here, breaking it over outside the right horn, watch both my hands are going to go to the dummy right here when I rope him. Both hands to the target. Pull my slack, and then as I pull my slack, I'm rocking back on my heels right there. So it keeps all of my balance. As I lean to my target, both hands come to it. Pull my slack, I'm coming back to my horse and sitting down and riding my horse and using him to handle the steer rather than my hand to dally and just duck.
Now, does anybody have any questions up to this point? You notice where we keep going back. We keep going back to, you've got to keep that core balance in place. Because if you don't, then you can't be consistent. I'm a big fan of using analogies during my clinics so people understand if you play a different sport. Golfing and roping are so much the same, it's not even funny. And I'm horrible at golf. I like to play it, but I'm horrible at it. But you hit the golf ball with the club head. Guess what we catch with? The tip. We use the tip of our rope to catch. So it's the piece that's furthest from our hand. There's no way that you can achieve consistency with this right here until you have your balance in place. And everybody really wants to work, and you can work on getting better with your rope, but we'll go to the practice pen and we'll have that practice to where we catch 9 or 10 out of 10, and then we come back the next day and you have that practice to where it's 3 out of 10. And we start beating ourselves up and start questioning ourselves, and then so we go work a little bit harder with this instead of going and riding those horses. I have students come through there, and again, we do this for fun, right? We do this for fun. The guys that do it for a living are here, that's who we're watching. So for us to get off of work and go to the practice pen, you know, sometimes we're a little bit tired at night, and you think, man, I don't know if I'm going to have time to wrap the steers. Drew's not going to be able to make it over to spin steers for me. I think I'm not going to practice tonight. Here's the best form of practice if you can't go practice. That is, saddle your horse up, go exercise, and take your rope with you, and swing your rope while you're loping circles. While you're riding around the arena, take your rope with you and swing your rope. It's always amazed me. You load up and go to an open roping, and you watch the open ropers. They may warm their horses up for 5 or 10 minutes, but then all of a sudden the ropes come off and they start warming themselves up. You go to a lower number roping, and that rope is strapped off to that saddle horn for the whole entire 30, 40 minutes that they're out there warming up, and then they walk in behind the head box and right before the roping starts, the rope comes off and they swing 3 or 4 times and they ride the box.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, I didn't start roping until like 15, so I had to really learn how to ride a horse and everything. But I remember when I first started doing it, they forced me to ride around and swing my rope, and it was so awkward. And I was embarrassed doing it because there were other people there and stuff, but I was catching myself and everything. But you got to step outside your comfort zone and feel awkward before it becomes comfortable. And when it becomes comfortable, it's just like second nature. Like he's saying, the easiest form of practice is riding around on your horse out the rope, open circles for 10 minutes, swinging your rope right there, building that muscle memory, and also being able to ride your horse, building that balance. Put your horse up, go rope the dummy for 10 minutes, and that's your practice. And you have a total of 30 minutes there, saddling, unsaddling, feeding, riding for 10 minutes, and roping the dummy for 10 minutes. I mean, that's probably the most basic form.
Great practice. Great practice. How many millions of steers do you think some ropers out there have roped in their mind, just warming their horses up? So that again, you're still focusing mentally. You're training the muscle that you've got to train, and that is your brain to teach the rest of your muscles to do it. And so when you do it, you've got to get relaxed in that saddle. I am when I warm my horses up. It's kind of like my young head horses. I don't ever rope a steer on them until I can counter arc them in a left lead circle. If I can't side pass that horse and counter arc that horse in a left lead circle, then I don't feel like I can expect him to go handle a steer like I want him to handle a steer. So in the process of that, I've got to learn to rotate my body and stay square to my steer and use my right leg to do it. It's the little things like that that are going to make you better. Again, 80% of the game is on the horsemanship side of it. Now, here's one thing I want to touch since we're on that subject. For my headers, how many of you have a hard time roping slow steers? You blow up on a slow steer and you end up splitting the horns or dumping it right down the right shoulder.
He's calling you out.
And again, last year, I think out of 12 seminars, I got that question asked every day. I like roping faster steers. I don't, the slow steers, I get to beat myself on. And I want to walk you through it. Again, it goes back to the horsemanship side of things. I'm going to start out on the score. Okay, if I'm in the box and this is my horse, if I pull on my horse and I know the steer's slower, or I don't know the steer's slower, but I nod my head and I pull on my horse right here, where's the next move from him? It's forward. And when I go forward, my shoulders are now square to my horse's head. It's not square to my target. They're not square to my target anymore. They're square to my horse. So now my left hand is back, my left foot's behind my shoulder, and guess where my swing is stuck? So as I get closer, what does my body start to do? I start pulling more, my chin comes up, then my tip comes up, and then I just dump it down the side. So when we started out saying the first job for a header is to what? Score. You've got to get locked in, use the core of your body, and what I mean by scoring is your horse will not score consistent until you become consistent. If I lock in and I nod my head and I don't wiggle until I drop my hand, then I become consistent. I've had my own horses and I've done it to them, especially when we go to ask them for a lot. They're going to get a little amped up in there. So when we come back, I'm going back in the box, and I'm going to get locked in, I'm going to nod. And if I hold and I don't wiggle, that horse may move 6 to 7 foot, but I don't wiggle. And then when he realizes I haven't moved, then he corrects himself. He comes back off of it, we go right back to back, and the second time I nod my head on another steer, and he's saying, okay, I'm waiting on your command. That's why we rattle the gates and bang the gates. But when I nod my head, if I will open and leave with my horse, like this, I'm already square, that means my first swing goes out, my tip's down. That's how you catch the slower steers. You get prepared for them. Because we're going to get every one of those head horses running through our hand right there, I promise you. We talked about it, what, after first night? Was it first night or the second night?
You're talking about running through your hand?
Yeah, like when you blew your spoke, you kind of pull it right
second
there.
night, yeah,
Second
yeah.
night. So it's...
I want to talk about that.
I didn't know to bring it back up. But that's what I'm talking about. You right there on some of those runs, it's hard for us to get tapped off if we're not balanced and our horse is pulling on us.
That's exactly what happened to me. Is what he's saying is that second round steer. I got a great start actually, but I got such a good start I actually had to pull because I left a little early, and so I floated across the line, which usually it doesn't really affect me too much, and I don't really feel like my rope hit anything. Some other guys were telling me my rope hit my horse's head or something like that, but really, I just have to fess up that I just dropped my rope. essentially it just blew out of my hand. And the reason it blew out of my hand was because I was off balance, is what he's saying. I left early and pulled, and my left hand came here, right here, which totally rocked my whole hand back, my whole back, which brought my tip up. And it makes it come, for me, it makes it kind of come underneath itself, like that. And it just kind of got awkward in my grip, and just my spoke blew, and my spoke blew out, me like did that right there. Had to regain it and go up the steer, but had a chance. I went from a chance of winning the day money to just having to go catch a steer and knock him down. And that was it. It's not fun to do that. I know that. So.
Okay. Is it making sense to everybody? Because again, the fundamentals don't change. We're not all going to swing a rope just alike, but what we can work on is keeping those fundamentals in place, and if we don't, then we start picking up those bad habits. That's why this is so crucial, in my opinion, the groundwork. If I don't have that balance and I don't have my left hand in place, it makes it very, very difficult that when I get on that horse, then I'm not going to go be consistent with that rope. Now, before I get into the healing side of it, what I want to talk to you about is headers. It doesn't stop when you catch. You've got to be able to ride those horses after the catch. You've got to be able to ride those horses. We've been cutting up about it all week. And I had a guy asked me one year at the BFI, he said, you know, there's a lot of those great videotapes out there on healing and how to heal and stuff like that. But somebody needs to make a videotape on how to rope steers that aren't handled good. And it's the exact same way. As a healer, I've got to get out there and I've got to get in position and set my corner up. I've got to put it all into place, but my target is the rear end of the steer. This is what I've always been amazed about Clay O'Brien Cooper. He has sat in the middle of those horses and he's rode that same corner time and time and time and time again to where it's the same shot. It doesn't matter if the steer gets jerked away. He rides his horse to the spot. He rides his horse to his target. Okay, so go ahead.
That's really good for amateur healers, especially, I think, because I mean, like in team roping, for all, I don't know if y'all practice to go win, obviously, but at our level, like me and Buddy rope together every day, day in and day out, when we're on the roads and stuff. So it's like the chemistry of a run comes into play. So he has essentially a right to tell me, hey man, you're going too fast, or you're going too slow, or hey, that handle sucked. And he has a right to come in and tell me, hey, I need you to do this so that we can finish our run. And I have a right to tell him, hey, you know, let this steer go right, or bring him left, or even back off a little bit. Maybe we can let him kind of get out in front of me. That's because we're a professional team. When you're an amateur roping, enjoy roping. Go into it, unless you're just roping with your friends or something like that. But don't try to go coach the header to tell him what you want in a handle. You just ride your position and do what you can do. And I guarantee you, if you worry about yourself and worry about your own core balance and your timing, which he's going to talk about here in a little bit, in your position, you'll catch so many more steers, because all you're doing is getting in position, getting in timing, letting that steer hit away from you, however the handle is, come back together, and when he comes together, you're ready to heel 2 feet. And you'll have so much more fun roping. Like, I mean, in a 13 roping, you'll go catch 2 feet when the guy's getting the neck and just ducking out. You're like, okay, I've seen this before. You just keep riding 2 feet. Damn, when you ride out the back of the arena, you're smiling, you got 2 feet, you go to the next steer.
Yeah, it's...
I don't know if that... I mean, hopefully I didn't just catch off guard.
No, not at all. It's what we're talking about right there is, you know, the consistency in that header is the confidence that we get as a healer in that header. But then we load up and we go so many of these drop pots. You don't know who you drop. So you go back and you kind of, your mind starts working, okay, where do I need to be with this header? I watched him rope one earlier and he really jerked that steer out of the hole, and the first thing we get caught doing is we start cutting that corner because we feel like we're getting ready to get our shorts jerked down, right? And so the worst thing that you can do is crash that corner, because when you crash the corner, what's the next step? You pull. And when you pull, you quit riding. And when you quit riding, guess where the steer goes? You've got to start completely over again. So what I like to teach right there is get into position. I want to talk to you about the timing. You've got to get into position, and I want to walk you through the common mistakes made to simplify timing for you. My first job as a healer is my haze. That doesn't mean I jump out there at the head and I shove the steer left. That means I establish myself to that steer before the header establishes himself. Okay? The first 10, 15 foot out of the box. But once I get there, if I will go ahead and ride on up into position, which is get my horse's nose even with the hip of the steer, then I'm in the game. You're going to hear people say, you got mustard on your lips right there. You know, that means you're in the stands. You're not in there playing, right? So I want to get up there, and I actually want to work a little harder going down the arena, so I don't have to work near as hard going across the arena. And here's the timing part of it. And again, this is why it's so key and essential that headers have control of their head horses. And the only way that you can control those head horses is you have to stay balanced. You have to stay balanced in the saddle to pick the shoulders up and keep the rear end heavy. So if I go ahead and I establish my position going down the arena, timing is the most natural thing you're going to do. And the fun part about my job is my students teach me as much as I teach them. And this is a common fact. You will naturally swing your rope down in front when your horse comes down in stride. It's like being in a rocking chair. You can't get it to go back when you're leaning forward. So when that horse comes down in stride, your tip is going to come down with it. Doesn't mean every stride. But that's why I said good practice is just getting out there and riding your horse local circles and swinging your rope. You'll learn to find that rhythm. I watch beginner students at those clinics within 15 minutes, never swung a rope, hardly rode a horse, and within 15 minutes of just getting them out there to swing the rope, they learn to find that horse's stride. And so I have people say, well, what does that have to do with the hop of the steer? Because we know timing, the legs have got to be back when you tips down. Agreed? Here's what it has to do with the hop of the steer. If I match the speed of my horse to the speed of the steer, guess what's back? So that's why if we set that corner up and we ride through the corner, your first shot's your best shot when you get to position because you've matched the speed. How do open level heaters just square up and catch one in the switch? Because they've already matched it going down the pin. Again, you go to those lower numbered opens and we see heaters back here and the steer's way up here. So when the steer turns, they accelerate their horses to go to position. When you accelerate your horse to go back to position or get to position, there's no timing. The horse is faster than the steer at that point. You've got to match the speed of your horse to the speed of the steer. So if I get up there and I work a little bit harder on it, going down the pin, then this is soft and it's easier. Again, not always going to happen, but you try, right? Dakota, we talked about Dakota the last couple of days. Dakota's one of those that whenever he watches that head rope go by, he actually steps up towards that shoulder and starts his own corner. He'll try to shove that steer to the left to soften that corner up. Throw that steer over into the left lead if he's not already there, or just start pushing in that direction. When you're working cattle, if you're at the hip, you're driving. If you're at the shoulder, you're turning. So he'll step up towards the shoulder and actually try to step that steer off to the left to soften that blow a little bit if that head horse is a little bit strong. Or just like I said, get up there and it's a blind shot. How many of you in here have roped a steer that's up underneath your hill horse? If you've hilled any at all, it's happened, right? You get up there, all of a sudden there they are, and then that steer moves up underneath your horse and you can't see them, and you go ahead and swing it down and you catch. So where's the timing to that? Your timing was you never left your horse astride. I use a videotape, the Horde Dog at all those clinics, and there's a run with Derek and Bucky Campbell. And the steer, when he turns that steer, the steer sets and his feet goes straight out from underneath him and he pancakes on his side. And as soon as he stands up, he catches him by 2 feet. So he wasn't hopping, he wasn't jumping, he was laying flat on his side, and as soon as he comes up, he goes into a delivery and catches him underneath his horse's neck to where he can't see him. And you're like, wow, how does that work? And every time you rerun it and frame it back out, he never quit swinging his rope with his horse's stride, and his horse was still in position. So when the steer went down, he slowed his horse down, but he never quit swinging. So when that horse came up, his swing came up. When his horse came down, his tip came down, the horse moves, he catches. Here's what I want to share with you. Do I think there is a purpose for the sleds and the ledge movement? You bet, I do. But I also know that, again, like I said a while ago, I watch students learn faster on legs hanging down because they learn to ride their horse into their delivery. Does that make sense to everyone? It's real easy to come around there, and if you're not riding your horse good enough, you get into position, and there's your shot, and there's your shot, and all you do is watch the legs. You start watching those legs. When you start watching the legs do that, guess what your legs do? They quit moving. They quit riding that horse's hips forward. So that's why I'm a big fan of making sure that those legs are straight, because then I start watching my hitters right into a delivery. When your horse gets on their rear end, when the rope goes by their head, it actually helps you deliver your rope. You have more finish with the tip. Versus a horse pegging that front end because you quit riding and then you got rocked forward. When they peg that front end, your tip's going to go down. Okay? Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes,
Krece, you talk about balance a whole lot.
Yes, sir.
How do low-numbered guys get better at balance? Do you have any drills or something? I know how he does it. You know, he does all kinds of stuff. But how do we do it?
As far as riding your horse?
Well, how do we get better at balance? Do you have any drills or suggestions at improving that?
You know, again, left hand, left foot. I see a lot of, when we're out there riding our horse and swinging a rope, you see a lot of ropers, their left foot goes behind their shoulder. When their left foot goes behind their shoulder, and you say, hey, make sure you get your left foot back underneath your shoulder. There's nothing wrong with that toe rolling down. But something as simple as this, again, it's mental discipline. I'll take a piece of kite string and I'll tie that stirrup to the cinch. So every time that foot goes back right there, it just reminds them to keep it under. Then again, when you're training your mind to stay balanced right there, all of a sudden you'll find that posture that we're talking about. I'm glad you asked that question, but Martin Duncan from San Angelo, sports medicine, he was at the arena back in January, and we got to talking about it. But your posture's key. Your posture is key. If you have an S posture, which means you're arched out like this, you're locking your shoulders and you're locking your hips. You can't do anything. And I see this a lot in women, because from day one as little girls they've been taught sit up straight, don't slouch. So they kind of get in there and they get real proper and they arch their back out. Well, you can't work on that core balance and swing the rope, especially when you go to swing the rope. If you're in a C posture, you can't do it. If you're arched over like this, you can't do it. So you have to be in a neutral state. And he talked about that, and it actually worked out really, really good, to where when I kept saying relax to my students, what I meant is they've got to relax their shoulders so they can rotate their hips and their shoulders to open up to their target. Our sport's no different. So when you're out there warming up, same thing I was talking about, I do practice that. I will practice swinging my rope, and I'll rotate my hips and shoulders all the way around my body as far as I can, and then come back here. Prime example. A lot of us get stuck in this position. You come out, the steer steps to you. How many of you get trapped when a steer comes into you, headers? And the first thing we do is what? We pull. We try to pull that horse's head out of the way, and when we do that, our horse ends up just like this. We move their head, we kind of move their shoulders, but we leave their ribs and their hips still going here. And then all of a sudden you're tweaked off right there, you have no balance left. When all you had to do is keep your posture the same and shift your weight. If that steer starts stepping into me, I shift my body over, just as the steer shifted. Now my horse's entire body moves over. Okay? I'm not saying your left hand's not going to move, but you've got to control the hips. So when you're out there warming up, you need to take full advantage of practicing all that. Practice rotating yourself in the saddle. Try to keep your chin behind your saddle horn. Try to stay relaxed. Swing your rope. Okay? Did that answer your question any at all? To a degree? To a degree?
We can work on that later. That's all right.
Yes, sir.
I apologize for the question. I noticed that headers from that rope underneath your arm. So is that under practice, is that choice? Or need to, because I know the girls are learning. Is that something you start building in the quality?
Right. You know, it is. And I'll let Drew talk a little bit more about it since he heads a lot more. But yes, I mean, we took our rope so it's out of our way. When we open up right there, we're not dropping our arm and hanging our horse's back leg. But there's nothing that makes you feel worse than when you leave the corner of the box and you've already got a leg caught. And it's not the right leg. You know what I mean? It's horrible. Or you catch your stirrup. So we do tuck that rope. We do tuck that rope so we can kind of keep everything out of the way and open. And again, I'll let him elaborate on it a little bit more, but that is, I think it's something that you definitely need to learn, just as you need, there's a lot of people that don't feed their rope. I think you need to learn to feed your rope.
There's only one guy that I know of that I've ever seen in professional team roping that doesn't start with it tucked underneath the rope to Dave Key. He sits right here just the whole time playing with his rope like this, just bouncing up and down, but he can do it. I mean, he brings his rope up fast, right there. He's got one of the fastest head ropes in the PRCA. But 99% of the people, team roping headers, start with it tucked up underneath here for the reasons that Krece was saying, and also it's easier, I think, for me and for most people to get their rope up. So if you're jackpotting, or however it is, if you start down here on the horn, or wherever it is you start, I mean, I start a lot at the rodeos, I'll start up here. You'll see everybody tonight start back here. But on the saddle horn, if you're starting right here, it's easier to keep it tucked, and then when you go from your saddle horn to bringing it back and coming forward, your rope's almost already back there. It's almost kind of behind me here, and all I got to carry is the Honda behind me here. Whereas if it's just like this, I got to bring my whole tip back there and then back up. And then by that time, maybe if you get to the point where you're getting out good, you're already on the steer, and then you got to take 2 more swings in a row. You're all out of whack if you have to bring it all back and then back up. Whereas if you start underneath your arm, it's already somewhat behind you, and all you gotta do is go from here to straight up and you're ready to go. And that helps, again, that helps with balance. I mean, it's a huge thing. I've tried all sorts of different ways of starting, and I've always come back to tucking it underneath my arm. When you do tuck it underneath your arm though, don't just tuck it underneath your arm and stay here. Tuck it under your arm and then slide it to where you can extend your arm out a little bit. See how Sled had some room right there? So that I got some space there, I can use my right arm, and it makes it easier to bring it back. If you bring it right here and just stay here, you're still all tight and out of balance.
That's key right there. You got to make sure you slide that forward a little bit so you can free that arm and shoulder up instead of blocking off.
Yeah, everything resorts back to balance. It really does. I mean, without being able to have control and balance of yourself and your horse, it's hard to run.
I think the form, like you said, is a good way to measure that each time. I
Yeah.
think people reach down to the bottom of the loop and pull it all the way back up.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of like a lot of shorter people. Sorry. Like a lot of girls do that. It's fine. It's no big deal. If you don't have the longer arm to do it, you probably could reach down there and go ahead. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it, but like that right there, so that you have that space to do it. But I've always just kind of slid it. You'll probably find out that sliding it is just right, really. But the concept is just to get enough slack there to where it's easy to control.
Hey, I know they're getting ready to run us off. Our time's getting limited. But before I do, we talked about the balance, and we talked about, Drew talked about the delivery. We talked about slack, keeping our shoulder square to our target. Again, key. You stay square to your target. For my healers, I have not talked about any groundwork. And this is something that I really, really want to push on with you before we leave. When you're doing your groundwork, especially on a lot of these sleds or sawhorses, we tie those sawhorses up. I see so many people, they take that tip and they swing over the backs of these dummies, okay? Is there anything wrong with this? He's thinking, no, it's pretty right, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have our tip over the steer's back, so I'm doing this right, it's coming across. Here's what ends up happening right there, and I see it every day. When you swing over, now, something like that over there that's a lot shorter, no problem. But when you're swinging over the backs of these sawhorses that are tied up, you're creating muscle memory. That muscle memory now transfers to that horse, and that is, now my tip is 3 foot, 4 foot too high, okay? I see that so many times that healers come through the corner, and when they come through the corner, their tip is in this position right here, so when they get to position, there's 1 shot, there's 2 shots, there's 3 shots, there's 4 shots, and then they finally go into a delivery. Just by what they practiced on the ground. So I'm a huge fan of making sure that we learn to get our tip down, because this right here on the ground is equal to this on the horse. Okay? Something as simple as that. The best drill that I can show my healers on their groundwork is stand in position, again, for balance, keep your shoulder square, and learn to swing the tip of your rope down there and do that without letting go. Don't even let go of your rope. You're working on your swing and using the tip of your rope. After you're able to do that 10, 15, 20 times, swing it through, then let go. Wait for the tip to come all the way out. Once you get to where you can do that, then you're going to start doing what? You're going to start letting go at the right time. Okay? When your rope comes out of your hand, I'm sorry.
Letting go when it hits the hop.
Yes. Yeah, that's my goal. I'm watching my rope hit and catch. Okay? So when it gets there, I'm going to let it catch and let go. Again, I'm finishing what I start right there. So it's not going to do us a lot of good. Again, it's those simple things that beat us. It's those little things that beat us. And staying disciplined on that groundwork, that's one of them. That's one of them. I'm not trying to go out and around and place this out in front like that. I'm trying to use the tip of my rope to catch and keep my chin behind my saddle horn. If you're bowing out, again, we all know that those hill horses will peg us off because they know when that rope gets ready to go by their head, what's their job? Stop. So, if you're having a problem with that, mentally discipline yourself to when you swing it down there, bend your knee. Whatever it takes, bend your knee because I want to get back in my saddle for my dally as opposed to leaning forward. Whatever it takes to break those habits is what you have to do. So I am left foot forward, right foot forward, or just square position, swing it down there, look at your loop, study it, my hand stopping at the right leg, and it's up and down. This is your delivery. This is your delivery. That is not your delivery. All the pictures we see in the Super Looper magazine or Rodeo Spin to Win, what does everybody's hands look like? But at that state, that steer's already in that loop. Steve made the Texas A&M Rope Rite sled. I went to school at A&M. This is very difficult for me to do. Okay? Bottom strand, top strand. If my hand rolls around that leg, where am I throwing that bottom strand? I'm throwing it out in front. So I want that rope to come out of my hand like I want to shake hands with that right leg. And I'm going to use the tip of my rope to catch, and then the bottom strand goes down and it carries through. The longer you hold on, the further your tip goes through. Okay? Does that help everybody understand? Because it's very, very easy for us to get caught up in leaning out and around and doing that. When you do that, again, you're creating muscle memory that's going to be so hard to get rid of. You've got to stay balanced and learn to use the tip of the rope. Create the momentum of the swing and let your loop catch. Just follow it to your target. Is everybody good? All right. I see you, so that means I'm out of time.
I always shut you down right here. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Horner, Krece Harris. Just to recap real quick, we're very proud to have Drew Horner as part of the NRS family. Drew, good luck tonight. Krece Harris, as far as the NRS clinics go and questions, the lovely Shay right over here. Raise your hand, Shay. If you have any questions as far as clinics at the NRS training facility, Shay and Krece are kind of hanging out towards the hat arena.